What's the wildest thing you've seen a parent allow? I was working as a lifeguard at Mountain Creek Community Pool last summer when this mom strutted in wearing designer sunglasses, trailed by identical twin boys around 8 years old. Their mischievous grins immediately put me on high alert. The mom, I'll call her Karen, didn't even get her boys' wristbands before claiming the prime lounger spot. Meanwhile, the twins were already running full speed across the wet deck, ignoring the giant no running signs posted everywhere. I blew my whistle sharply and pointed to the nearest sign. When they ignored me, I approached Karen. "Ma'am, your children need to walk on the pool deck. It's a safety issue." She barely glanced up from behind her sunglasses. "Boys, don't run so much," she said with zero conviction, then immediately went back to scrolling on her phone. Not stop running, just don't run so much. Like there's an acceptable amount of running on a slippery pool deck. 10 minutes later, I heard screams from the deep end. One twin was doing cannonballs directly onto other kids, targeting them like bullseyes. The other had smuggled in water balloons and was launching them at elderly swimmers doing laps. One balloon hit a 78-year-old veteran who swims daily for his arthritis, knocking his prescription goggles off. I immediately had another guard cover my zone and marched over to Karen, who was now sunbathing with her eyes closed, completely oblivious or deliberately ignoring the chaos. "Ma'am, your sons are endangering other swimmers. They can't throw water balloons or jump on top of other kids." She pushed her sunglasses up and gave me a look that could curdle milk. "They're just expressing themselves creatively. Don't stifle their spirits. This is how boys play." "No, ma'am, this is how people get injured. Pool rules exist for everyone's safety." She scoffed. "You lifeguards are always on such power trips. They're just having fun." As I walked away, I heard her mutter, "This is why I wanted to join the country club instead." The boys behaved for about 15 minutes after my warning, just long enough for me to think the situation was under control. Then I noticed they were suspiciously quiet in the deep end. Through my polarized sunglasses, I could see they were having a who can hold their breath longest contest. Except underwater, they weren't just holding their breath. They were shoving each other down, hands on shoulders, keeping the other submerged. One kid's face was turning an alarming shade of blue when I blew my whistle and jumped in. I pulled the gasping boy to the surface. As I helped him to the edge, Karen finally looked up from her magazine and shouted, "Don't manhandle my child. He was fine. They've had swimming lessons since they were 3. I ignored her and focused on making sure her son could breathe properly. After ensuring he was okay, I addressed her. "Ma'am, your sons were holding each other underwater. That's dangerous behavior that could lead to drowning. I need you to actively supervise your children or you'll have to leave." "Are you telling me how to parent?" she snapped, finally getting up. "I can see them perfectly fine from here." "Clearly not, since one of them almost drowned while you were reading Top 10 Summer Cocktails." That set her off. She demanded to speak to the manager while the twins disappeared toward the snack bar area. Our manager was already heading over. While Karen was mid-rant, we heard screams from the other side of the pool. My manager and I rushed over to find 3 people sprawled on the deck, one elderly woman clutching her wrist in pain. The surface was slick with baby oil. The twins stood nearby, giggling and holding an empty bottle they'd apparently emptied across a section of the deck to make it a slip and slide. One victim was a grandmother who had sprained her wrist. Another was a teenage girl with a bleeding chin. My manager immediately called for first aid while I corralled the twins. Karen arrived and had the audacity to say, "Well, the deck shouldn't be so rough anyway. They were just trying to make it more fun." My manager finally snapped, "Ma'am, your family is banned from this pool for the remainder of the season. You'll be receiving a bill for the cleanup and medical costs." Karen's face turned crimson. "You can't do that. We paid for season passes." "Watch me," Lisa replied, holding the door open. As security escorted them out, Karen's parting words were, "Your pool has no imagination anyway." She didn't even apologize or help clean up the hazardous mess her children had created. 2 weeks later, she called asking if her ban could be lifted because the country club pool is too strict about running.